Romans 1 verses 2 to 3 Seed of God's heart. Romans 1 verses 2 to 3. To the gospel he promised beforehand through his prophets in the Holy Scriptures 3 regarding his Son, who as to his earthly life was a descendant of David.
The New Testament is full of words and writing from the apostles of Christ, declaring the Lord has fulfilled his word and will continue to do so. The bondservant of the Lord, Paul's testimony in the letter of Romans, claims Jesus is the Son of Man, though the seed of David, who was the King of Israel. When I write a blog, I will study and look at different English versions of the Holy Bible. I usually will use the New American Standard Bible, the 2020 edition, but for Romans 2:2 to 3, I went with the New International Version, which is a Bible some Christians dislike. Out of most English versions, the NIV is one of a couple that said God fulfilled his gospel promise of providing the Son of Man through David. Others will say God kept his promise or delivered the good news. The Lord always keeps his word in the Old and New Testaments. I wanted to use the King James Version or New King James Version or Amplified Bible for several reasons. The KJV and NKJV both call Jesus the seed of David. The AMP Bible calls Jesus an answered covenant promise from God. Why is that important? Say or ask me. The gospel is all of God's word, not just Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. God's covenant seed did not start with David, nor did it begin with Father Abraham, but was first offered to Eve and Adam after they disobeyed God's word. God knew Adam and Eve would fall from grace, so he said, I will provide for you a son, a seed, which will crush the power of Satan's lying serpent. Not only with Eve and Adam, but God made the same covenant seed promise to Noah and Abraham.
Genesis 3 verse 15, And I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. He shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. Genesis 9 verse 8 And God spake unto Noah, and to his sons with him, saying, 9 And I, behold, I establish my covenant with you, and with your seed after you. Genesis 17 verse 19 And God said, Sarah, thy wife shall bear thee a son, indeed, and thou shalt call his name Isaac, and I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him.
In the New Testament, in Jesus' teachings, he calls the gospel seeds. He tells his followers to share the good news gospel like tossing seeds on the ground. It grows, and if it perishes. Jesus is the Son of Man. He comes into the world in human flesh to be Emmanuel, God with us. His purpose was to show you and me how to do God's work and share the good news gospel lovingly. Son of Man appears in the Holy Bible 195 times, 88 times in the New Testament. This covenant promise had to happen so that Emmanuel, God with us, could die a human-like death. Then Jesus would prove to the world that he is God by resurrecting his body from the tomb. Judaism and Islamic religions do not believe Jesus was God and still do not. But the apostle bondservant of Jesus Christ's testimony in Romans chapter 1 verse 2 to 3 say, God fulfilled his gospel promise, and I continue to keep sharing his gospel messages. God bless you all. The seed Jesus Christ loves you, and so do I. His bondservant Samuel Jerry Head.
Acts 3 verse 20 And that he may send Jesus Christ, who was preached to you before, 21 Whom heaven must receive until the times of restoration of all things, which God has spoken by the mouth of all his holy prophets since the world began. 22 For Moses truly said to the fathers, The Lord your God will raise up for you a prophet like me from your brethren. Him you shall hear in all things, whatever he says to you. 23 And it shall be that every soul who will not hear that prophet shall be utterly destroyed from among the people. 24 Yes, and all the prophets, from Samuel, and those who follow, as many as have spoken, have also foretold these days. 25 You are sons of the prophets, and of the covenant which God made with our fathers, saying to Abraham, And in your seed all the families of the earth shall be blessed. 26 To you first, God, having raised up his servant Jesus, sent him to bless you, in turning away every one of you from your iniquities.